50% came out this end. Well, now then, under No Child Left Behind, and a lot of people have mixed feelings on that, under No Child Left Behind, we began to go up by billions. And I will tell you that I didn't see teacher pay go up that much. I would suspect that we increased bureaucracy in here. We increased the outflows. So as someone suggested, that we need to have a reset button. We need to redesign. We need to rethink. We need to reprioritize our entire government. It is all like this. I've been spending all day long today with the Native Americans, Acoma, Laguna, last night in Zuni. And they say, Indian Health Service, IHS, more money. And they get less money out at the end of the pipeline. So I began my last 2 years in Congress. Somebody's asking, well, I'll take on the tough questions. I went and said, I think that the Acoma and Laguna, Canyoncito, the ACL clinic, should be allowed to contract to a private provider and get away. We should take the IHS dollars and give them to them and let them block grant that money to Acoma Laguna and let them contract their own private service away from IHS. If IHS can earn their trust and do the service, fine. And so I was just there at Acoma Laguna today, and they were saying that we're this close. We're this close to approving to contract out, one of the first times in America, because we're beginning to rethink what we can afford to do and how the system is leaking out itself here. So the VA, we've almost, when I first went to Washington, the VA was about 33 billion. It's now 120, and I will guarantee you we're not getting 4 times the benefit. We are not getting 4 times the benefit. The bureaucracy is soaking it up out the side of the pipeline. 2. Sorry, 2 was right over here. Yes, sir. Yeah.
Enumerated powers of the Constitution and the Environmental Protection Agency going after houses that were built before '78, messing up the lives of realtors, and now they're going after contractors. Could you speak to those issues?
Under this whole chart, we should realize that there is a Constitution. A Constitution that worried about a government that is too strong, a government that could overtax and overregulate. Article 1, Section 8 is just a few sections long, 8 or 10. That's where the powers to the federal government were given. Section 9 expressed the fear that this government's going to get too big, so they begin to limit in Section 9 of Article 1 that the government can't do ex post facto laws. They can't do this, they can't do that, bills of attainder. That was our founding fathers saying, we have seen the European model of kings and powers that are up there. We want to limit government, and the Constitution was to limit government. And one of the facts of the progressive movement is they dismissed the Constitution so that Rahm Emanuel, who I served on the House floor with before he became the chief of staff for President Obama, says about the First Amendment, the freedom of speech and religion, it's overrated, just dismissive. Dismissive of the Constitution. That is our only power as people.
Right.
The power to stand up against a government that will overwhelm us.
That's right.
And we have leaders who dismiss this document that is our sole protection. That's what's going on in the country today. So again, our founding fathers understood this, and we have to be willing to take that fight back. And in all due respect to that argument, and people want me to fight that fight first, if we don't get the economy going, I think we will not be able to get it going within a year to 2 years. I think we will have given up too much ground to recreate it. So I'm going to tell you that if I go to Congress, this is where I'm pushing. And I begin to push our future leadership, Mr. Cantor and Mr. Boehner, when they asked me to run for this. So you recently saw the Pledge to America, and I don't know if it came from me, but I was very pleased that 5 pledges, 5 basic core pledges, one was on jobs. And if you go and you look at the expanded thing under jobs, We're going to stop the government from taking our jobs away through overtaxation and overregulation. I think we've already had an impact before we're even there, because I've been saying this for the full year. Too many Republicans can't articulate a growth message, an economic growth message that comes from tax cuts. I will tell you that you create jobs not by government stimulus that will never work, never. Government stimulus kills jobs over here through taxing the money away, and then it recreates a few over here. The only way to create jobs is for private capital to go to work in some productive capacity. So the guy over at Artesia, there's oil field guys over there, he's not too polished. He said, I can put that into words. He said, for me to create a job costs $340,000 for a bulldozer. That's what it takes. And he said, plus I have to buy a pickup truck because they don't drive the bulldozer to work. So about $400,000, and banks typically won't lend. They'll lend for business acquisition, they'll lend for growth. But once you're paying on one loan, they hate the loan for expansion. So that $400,000 has to be accumulated through profits, and the progressives are declaring that profits are bad, and they want to do away with profits, which means we're never going to create jobs over here, because it takes $400,000 for that one guy to create a job. Microsoft, if they want to create a new project, they got to bring in software engineers and begin to design it beforehand. You got to invest the money before you get the revenue. It is always that way, that it takes private capital. We're a capitalist society, and when we tax the capital away, tax the profits away, then companies can't create jobs. It's fairly simple. So that's been my message to our leadership. Get on a growth message, because people do understand it. And I've said this to some very left-leaning groups, and they said, we've never heard anyone articulate the conservative message to where we understood it. They said, we're going to go home and think. We might still disagree with you, but we're not going to disagree with you today. We're going to go home and think about it. And this is what I tell you, that you must become knowledgeable about the stuff that's affecting us, and you must begin to talk on the streets. We lost the arguments about free enterprise and socialism here in the streets of Valencia County before we lost it in Washington and Santa Fe. Washington and Santa Fe are a reflection of us. So we've got to fight the fight here. I'll go and fight the fight there. I'm asking for that job. But I can't do it, we can't do it there. The number of hurdles is too big. It has to be Americans sweeping forward. And America swept forward about a year ago in that Acorn vote. The power that you have as people. Nancy Pelosi said one day that I don't see that we'll have any votes on Acorn. And within 24 hours, she had the vote, which was stunning because she controls everything on the House floor. She had the vote after saying that it won't have it. And worse, she lost the vote, that she didn't want to lose. They cut the funds to Acorn because Americans were burning hot. Democrats were going to her behind closed doors saying, you must have that vote. We got to do it. We're going to die politically. So, know that your power is tremendous when we begin to speak and we begin to want the country to go the direction that we feel it should go. I tell you openly which direction I will go. This is it. We're laying it out here. I'm willing to have it taped and shown around to the other team, whatever, because I'm not embarrassed about it. We stream it ourselves. So I think we should do it everywhere. We should be talking about it on the streets, because we've got to convince the people who don't see life this way that it's true. Two. Yeah.
That was true. Steve, part of the problem people have with what has gone on the last year or two is not so much the content of the legislation, but the way in which it was passed, and adding gifts to different congressmen so they could get their vote, and doing all these things behind closed doors. What kinds of things or reforms would you pursue to end that kind of underhanded work in Washington?
I would do something very simple. It's called virtual Congress. We would serve from here. We would log in online to have the debates, to have our votes. I will guarantee you, if the gentleman from Nebraska who did the Cornhusker Compromise was in a room like this and in an enclosed department where he can't be interrupted, but he had to walk out and face this group, I will guarantee he would not have sold his vote. I will guarantee he would not have voted the way he did. So if we put representatives back here, we can go to Washington for State of the Unions and stuff like that. But serve from out here where people have access. I will guarantee you that we will return more to a constitutional basis. We will return more to the values that people are looking for. Right now, Washington can control you. Put the people back here, and I will guarantee that we'll begin to reverse the flow of those kinds of decisions. Empower people to have a voice in the project. That voice is when, for you to talk to your congressman today, it's about $1,000 for you to get to DC, if you and your wife go, spend a couple of days, you get 15 minutes. 15 minutes for $1,000. Here you're getting it for free. And we did about 1,000 of these things when I was in office. 1,000 of these stand up and take questions. Somebody asked me about the debate. Are you dodging debates? No. Actually, the debates are, our opponent said we want single issues and on the radio with questions that are already there. I said that's hokey, but we'll do one. So we did it over in Las Cruces. While the debate was going on, and as soon as we walked out the door, the next one, we were going to take unlimited issues. But now then they said, oh, person can ask, they can call in, and they can ask questions only on the one issue. And we said, no, it needs to be all the issues. This is what's wrong with America, not one issue at a time. But the next thing they said is that you can't talk back, you can't offer rebuttal. So if someone wants to ask one of you a question, you can talk for 2 minutes and the other person doesn't get to make any statement. Well, I'm sorry, but that now then guarantees that we're not going to have a debate, that we're not going to offer points of view, but one person can stand there and work it over. So we said, all right, I've invited Mr. Teague to be at these forums with me. We've done 5 or 6 of them, I don't know why. We got another one tomorrow night over at Silver City, so we honestly take questions. I think you can see we haven't written any questions, we haven't set them up. You can ask anything you want to do, and I'll let you track my stuff. You can take me back and you can pin me double over if you want to. But the truth is that we need to be here. If we want to restore our government, we need to be here in front of people taking these questions and answers, because that's where we begin to refine our views and our values. That's what's wrong with the government, is that we do our government in 30-second bites, sound bites on TV. This is where you can really begin to ascertain whether you agree with a principle or not. So, serve from here and do many, many, many of these. Yes, okay, all right. Now I'm lost on 1, 2, 3s. Will you serve? Okay, the third guy also has to tell me for the 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, all right. I'm not ignoring this group here. I'm going to come over here next. I'm sorry to get right-handed and just keep looking for eyes. Okay, all right, come on. Yes.
Steve, your idea of serving here is really